type of software or eye tracking software do you, and if you do, what returns have you found?
Sure. From it? That's a good question. So the question for the folks watching the stream is, have we used facial recognition or eye tracking software? And if so, what are the returns that we found? I'll take that just for a second, then I'm going to let Heather elaborate on it. We do. We've done eye tracking. Facial expression, I don't think we have yet. No. But eye tracking, we do. And it's a relatively expensive means of testing. The equipment itself is pretty expensive. We use Tobii equipment, Tobii. It runs something like $4,000 to $6,000 just to purchase, or you can lease them. So it's relatively expensive. We don't keep one in-house, but we rent one when we need it. The issue that we found with it is that a lot of times it shows us the exact same thing. In the web world, people generally look at a website in an F format. So they look at the top left, they may go across, they go down the left side, and then they kind of come across the middle a little bit, almost exclusively ignoring the right and bottom right, because at this point it's ad blindness and some other things. They just don't get there. So if we're tracking just the usability of a website, we see that time and again. Now, if they want to do a heat map, or if they want to do some time on task type things, where the longer they look, the bigger the blot gets, that's a little bit different. But we typically use it when you need the wow factor. It produces a very cool output. It's a very compelling output. If you can show somebody, here's your site, here's all the eye tracking, here's how much time people spend on everything. Even though if it's something we already knew, that's a very effective tool to convince someone that what they're doing is either incorrect or correct. So it kind of has the sexy factor to it, because you can say, hey, it's not just somebody, we didn't just tape somebody clicking on a button. We actually have this really cool eye tracking output, and it really means something. Do you have anything to elaborate on that?
Not a lot. I would say it's the sorts of things. It's the sort of thing that executives like a lot. So oftentimes when we get requests for it, it's because someone higher up says, "Well, I want one of those, weather map peak tracking sort of things because it looks cool, but it's expensive. We do need to have a larger sample size in order to have valid results, and larger 25 to 30 people at a minimum, as opposed to the 6 to 12 or so that we would typically do. And it is expensive from an equipment rental standpoint, and also we've found that the application for it is best if it's very targeted. So, for example, we did one relatively recently for a company that was developing a web ad that they wanted to place on the internet. They had, I think, 4 different versions of the ad. Most of them were animated. I think that one was not. And they wanted to find out what was going to draw people's attention. And so we actually had to come up with 16 different mock-ups. We had to put all 4 ads on 4 different web pages and then do a rotation so that we were able to find out which one actually did sort of float to the top. But that, again, was sort of a very specific and targeted thing. To just take a look at a website or an app, I usually don't recommend eye tracking, because the investment, the monetary investment in doing it isn't worth it. The output that you're getting from it isn't worth it. I believe that some other companies that lean a little more toward the academic side, because I didn't think about this yesterday, and of course everybody here is sort of coming from that perspective, is looking at that biometric input, right. How rapidly your pulse increases. I know that there is a company, I'm not recalling the name of it now, that does they're very concerned about facial expression, not just a sigh or a lean in or something like that, but they've got sensors all over the face and stuff, that most of our clients don't need that level of detail for the things that we're testing. So, and that kind of takes away too the sort of natural feel of the test. Right. We want them to feel like they're in their living room, and if you have things stuck to your forehead and cameras and thumb pulse monitors and stuff, and
that kind of blows it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a
So the DC area isn't necessarily a hotbed for startups. Have you ever thought about moving, or has the DC area been conducive for your business?
Sure. That's a great question. So the question is, the DC area isn't exactly a hotbed for startups, and have we considered moving, or is DC a startup area? And during the heyday of AOL and Sprint out toward Dulles Airport, it actually was. There were a tremendous number of startups in the late 90s, early 2000s. And it definitely died off with the economic decline of the early 2000s. And I've been keeping an eye on it. A number of incubators and of investment groups have popped back up again in the DC area. There's a surprising amount of talent around there. Not so much in the design world, for the government, let me rephrase that, the government brings in a lot of talent in the area. It's not necessarily all design talent, but that doesn't require, that doesn't mean that you can't have a startup there. And there are a number of startups. There's a number of startup groups. I'm on a listserv. I could probably get you some more information, but it seems like the activity is actually really picking up again. So, it might be actually a good place to go look because there is a lot of talent. You don't have to go out to California unless you really want to. I mean, I'd probably rather be in, Palo Alto than DC, but my business is here, and it's actually a really good area. So I would say that it's probably not the best, but I bet it's in the top 4 or 5 in the country. Sure.
How much of your business is returning customers compared to acquiring new customers?
That's a great question. So the question is how much of our business is returning business versus acquiring new customers. We don't advertise. I'm not a sales guy. We don't have salespeople. So the vast majority of our business is returning business. We do some things to try to go out and get new business, but for the most part, we leverage our network and clients breed other clients. So over the last couple of years, we've been very fortunate to have a lot of clients send us referrals and things like that, and we've kind of grown our business organically as opposed to trying to go out and sell. It's an admitted weakness of ours, and I wish we were better about it. I'm not wired as a salesperson, and it's very difficult for me to find the kind of salesperson I want to have go out and represent our company. That's just a personal problem of mine. But we've been very fortunate in that that's the kind of business that we really like to have because we have long-term relationships with a number of companies. National Geographic, Discovery Education, PBS, AARP, Better Business Bureau. Those folks, they've been working with us for literally 7, 8, 9 years and have used all 3 lines of the business at one time or another. And, on a personal level, that's very rewarding because we know we're doing a good job for them and because they wouldn't be coming back if they didn't. We do some low-level advertising in some trade books for the lab because the lab is much more of a commodity. It's much more of an easy thing to advertise for. And people search for usability lab. We get a number of requests just over the web. Hey, I need a facility. Hey, I need to run a focus group. And that's starting to pick up even more because we're getting better in the search results and things like that. So we do a little bit of that, and I would say most of our new business gets generated through the lab for that very reason.
The lab in particular, we've been describing the lab as sort of an end-to-end full-service thing where a client like AARP may come in and utilize our services to moderate the sessions, recruit respondents, host the sessions, have them come out and use the facility. But we actually have sort of 3 different businesses in the labs. In some cases, we can just recruit respondents for you if you'd like to host either in your own facility or in a hotel or another location. We can just rent out the focus group facility or the lab, and that's what Keith was just referring to. We do have quite a few clients who come in and just use our space, and then we have the full service, sort of soup to nuts thing. So.
Sure. Is there any other questions? No? Then I think we're going to get started here. We have a very compressed time frame to get a few ideas about the website. So this is going to be how a focus group works at about 1/5 the time.
Exactly. Well, let me grab my questions too. Well, thanks for I'm going to take these sort of 6 people that are sitting closest into me, and we're going to do a really sort of brief, abbreviated focus group. Typically, our focus groups last about 90 minutes to 2 hours, and we always have a good 5 to 10 minutes of sort of laying the ground rules, building rapport. Everybody goes around the table and introduces themselves and, sort of starts to develop some comfort level at being able to talk together in the group. And as Keith mentioned, too, usually we're not surrounded by, 40 other people sort of looking over our shoulders and listening into what we're saying. But what I wanted to do today was talk a little bit about the IST website and about the types of people who use it and what sorts of information should be on there. Of the 6 of you, the 3 here and 3 here that are sitting closest to me, have you all been to the IST website before? Yeah. Okay. And why? What were you doing?
I was looking for the...
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, I apologize. Yeah, push the button and that way they can catch it up on the...
I was looking for, the degree schedule of courses, so kind of the academic layout of how you should take the classes.
Okay. So your syllabus or a course schedule or degree requirements? Or?
Yeah, degree requirements. So they have on the website specific laid out semester by semester what classes you should be taking every semester.
Okay. Terrific. And how about the rest of you? Why did you go?
When scheduling courses, like looking at faculty and their information and their backgrounds, just to see like where they're coming from.
Okay.
I've used it for finding out. Actually, I've tried using it to access the IST intranet for graduate students, but I've had trouble getting there. And in addition, I just use it for directory search, directory stuff and such.
Okay. And are you searching for faculty and staff or students or?
Often faculty and staff.
Okay. Terrific. Go ahead. Did you?
I've used the website before to look up requirements for the internship that we're supposed to complete as a part of our degree, because I needed to know what paperwork I needed to fill out and what sort of things I would need to be looking for in an internship.
Okay, great. The other?
Yeah, I use it for like professors, like what sort of research they have done, what sort of publications they have been doing.
Okay.
Just so that I have an idea if I want to work with a professor or not.
Okay. Great.
And I used it for IST 230. We had to build a map of a degree audit. So that's when I used it.
Okay. Great.
And I used it specifically when I was undecided coming in. I wanted to look at different IST and SRA options and what they offer and what kind of jobs are that you can get from getting those degrees.
Okay. So it sounds like there's sort of a variety of reasons, even as current students, why you might use the site, helping you currently decide on course selection, and then also utilizing information for the future, either for internships, for future career, all sorts of things. Are there things that you know now, being current students in the program, that you wish you'd known as a prospective student? I guess what I'm wondering is, what information do you know now that you think should have been on the website before, or that may be missing from the site? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the sort of like research jobs that are available for undergrad students, I think that's one thing that I never knew of before coming here. And after working for like a couple of research projects for some professors, that's when like I came to know that undergrads can do these sort of things.
Okay, so you weren't even assured that was an opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It's a paid research, and again, you get your name on the application if you work for it. So I think that's one.
Okay, go ahead.
When I joined as a graduate student, I would have liked to have more details about the specific method for placement into the graduate assistantship program. As graduate students, we're all granted assistantships, which is good, but the specific details on whether you become a research assistant, whether you become a teaching assistant, and how that's chosen and determined are something I didn't really find there.
Okay, great. Do you?
Yeah, I don't know how it is now because I've been on it a while, but they have a website called Compass, which is for IST and SRA students to try to find jobs and internships. And I just thought that they should probably advertise it or have that more easily visible for people who are on the website, because once I did hear about it, even getting to it was a little bit difficult. But it's such an important tool that someone can use later on, especially when they're about to graduate. So I thought they should advertise that more and make it more easily accessible.
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, like similar to the careers that Ari was talking about. Like we have 3 different options in both IST and SRA, and they provide information on what you learned. But I would like to have seen like more of what career paths are available like after specializing in one of those fields, like what people have gone on to do like afterwards.
Okay, so maybe in like alumni stories or success stories or career paths that you could take. Okay, great. Excellent. Did you have something else you were thinking? No, just agreeing. That's okay. Okay. How are we doing on time? We've got another couple minutes.
4
right?
minutes.
Okay. So, thinking nearing graduation, or sort of approaching the time when you're going to be starting your career, how about information, as you mentioned, about alumni success stories? Should there also be information for alumni on the site, or do you think that once you've graduated that you probably wouldn't come back to the IST website? Go ahead.
I think if they had something where alumni could network and kind of get to know each other, let's say if you wanted to start a company or just look for people that graduate similar degrees or in the same area as you that you could work together, I think that would be a cool type of networking tool. But if they didn't have something like that, I'm not really sure if I would be coming back to it.
Sure.
Maybe just to see how the college is evolving or what they're adding or removing from the degrees you can get.
Okay, okay.
I think if they just had like some sort of alumni page where if alumni wanted to get involved, there were specific events or that type of thing where like they knew exactly what there was that they could become involved with.
Okay, okay.
If you're an alumnus, I think you can assume that you're going to be coming back and asking for certain specific forms and details and such for many years to come possibly. And so on a long-term basis, maybe they should establish methods for how to do that. Like, even if you're coming in 10 years down the line and all the systems have changed, there should be some sort of long-term method for doing that stays the same and is designed to take those big gap years into account. So maybe you've forgotten your passwords and maybe you've forgotten your student ID numbers, but it's still possible without too much hassle. I can't say for certain whether they don't already have something like that right now, but it's a thought.
Yeah, yeah. Now, and is this something, would you expect to be able to do that through the IST website or maybe through the university's site as a whole?
That's something I was actually thinking about. There's a lot of stuff that maybe would be done directly through the university. I suppose if there's anything department specific that would happen through here, but
sure.
That's something to debate.
Okay, okay, great. How about before you came to IST, as a prospective student, what information was important to you or that should be on the website for prospective students, do you think?
Definitely the course, not the course description, but like the option descriptions for IST, because I wasn't sure which option I wanted to do.
Okay.
But I also think it kind of goes along with what Keith said about having like the different career paths for each option, because I think that was a little confusing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so the different like tracks that you could be in and where that could lead to once you finished school. Okay, you going to say something else?
I was just gonna say like what sold me was like what their selling points were was basically like their job placement like percentage like after graduation. They said I think it's something like 95% of students or something like that.
Okay.
So that's what really sold me.
Okay, okay. So that information you saw on the site even before as you were a prospective student too. Thank you.
I think we have to wrap up, Heather.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Thank you for helping. Any other questions?
That was actually really good for 12 minutes or
for 10
something.
minutes.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
actually
great
very
job.
helpful. Thank you, guys. Thanks. So again, thank you all for coming out. Again, thank you all to the IST faculty, staff, and students that really made this great. And feel free to hit us up. Here's some of our contact info. If you ever are down in Arlington, D.C. area, please feel free to let us know. We'll be happy to have you come in, show you the lab, talk to you, just show you around the area. So again, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Thank you.